Dave Schrader recently invited me to be a guest on his podcast, Paranormal 60. Here's part one of The Trouble with Angels on Survivor Angels.
I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about the concept of angels, demons, miracles, magic, and more. And suddenly I've realized I have a lot more questions than I do answers when it comes to the realm of angels. And speaking to people, they seem equally confused by the concept of what is an angel? How do we know when we're facing an angel intervention or something demonic trying to seem angelic? Very strange concepts. But when we relate it to the paranormal, the concept that people always have fears that something dark is behind everything that we do and all of the spirit communication that we get, even though some of those are extremely loving messages. Are there signs we should be watching out for? Are there things we should be aware of? Well, there's only one person I wanted to go to for these answers. Chaplain Jodi will be joining us tonight. She is the host of Survivor Angels, a dear friend of ours, and an author. We'll discuss angels and the trouble with angels when we return to the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. You won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Hello, all. Let me begin by welcoming all of my darkness angels, all of my darklings across the world, and thank you for the quick response to the purchase of my new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness. These are strange supernatural encounters. The book is out and available now. If you're listening throughout the world and you'd like to order a copy, you can go to Amazon and order a copy right now. Please do me a favor, rate and review the book after you get it and have a chance to read it. And remember, always be kind, never be cruel. I'd appreciate that feedback because the more you rate and review the book, the more it will be shown and more people will be exposed to it. So thank you very much. For those of you looking here in the United States for a signed copy or a special copy from me, you can do that by going to the paranormal60.com. That's paranormal60.com. Right on the front page, scroll down a little bit, you'll find all the information right there. Standard copies just $20, signed copies only $30 plus $7.95 shipping and handling. Get them direct from the source. They will have a special sticker on them denoting that they are signed by the author. And I want to thank everybody that has already responded and the hundreds of books that have already been sold. Thank you so much. That means more to me than you can possibly imagine as I release my first solo book. All right, let's get to it. Angels. I have been asked for years about the concept of angels and dealing with angels. How do we know when we're facing an angel as opposed to something else? And I've always gone on gut instinct and the hopes that I was right. But what if I'm not? What if the advice and imagery and information that I've shared is just off? I know that's scary, right? There are no experts in this field, they like to say, but there are those of us that have spent our lives educating ourselves, trying to come up with the answers by speaking to people in the know. Well, a good friend of mine, she is the host of Survivor Angels series. She is an author. As a matter of fact, she has a brand new book out right now called Angel Trippin', and it is your guide to angel adventures. We have a link for that book on today's program guide. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome here to the Paranormal 60, Chaplain Jodi Dane. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Jodi.
Well, thank you, Dave, for having me. I've missed you. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
Yeah, way too long, and hopefully we'll be able to rectify that soon. Um, I have a striking image for this program, right? Where it's this image of an angel and a demon kind of split down the center. The concept of this really struck me because so many people have asked me about, Dave, when we're trying to communicate with spirit, how do we know we're not getting the demonic realm? How do we know that something isn't trying to trick us? And I have always been kind of cavalier in my response that I don't walk in a place of fear. Therefore, I don't try to allow the darkness in. And if it starts going that way, if these things start turning malevolent, dark, or cruel, I just walk away and end that moment. I'll go out and do some prayers for myself for the location, and that's it. But it has been so rare for me to have an actual encounter with something I feel is truly evil. Something and I'll even go as far as saying I don't think I've ever really dealt with something completely demonic. Dark things, dark energies, but again, I don't have the gift of discernment. So let's start at the very beginning for people. As we talk about angels, can you give us a little, maybe kind of a Angels 101 on how do we know if we're dealing with something heaven bound or hell bound when we're dealing in the angelic realm?
And that's a very broad question, Dave, in and of itself. Um, First of all, let me say, because so many people say, I want to see an angel. I want to see an angel. You're probably not going to see one. Those sightings are so very rare. And if you think you're going to see them as all of the Renaissance artists depicted them, have another drink.
Yeah. What, they're not Ken dolls with long hair and silver or golden armor waving a
Yeah,
sword above their head for us?
yeah. No, they're not Barbie either. Neither one.
Okay.
So, first of all, they don't look like what our mind believes that they look like because it's what we've always been shown angels to
Mhm.
look like. They're not those cute little cherub, chubby cheek things we see for Valentine's Day. No. Angels, in the sense of, I'm going to call them our good angels, our
Mhm.
light and love angels. They are actually, according to biblical description and several other faith traditions, quite ugly. They might be this little round sphere of eyeballs and feathers. It could be something else. It could have four faces to it. That's what they would look like. I don't know about you, but I have never seen anything like that. What I have,
I've never seen anything like that, but it is really compelling that you share that with me, and I don't know if we've ever spoken about my angelic encounter, the one that I believe I had, where I actually encountered a being who, um, he was a craggle-faced, beaten up looking old man, and he looked rough, and
okay.
he invited me to speak with him, and as we spoke, he goes, "Well, what did you expect an angel to look like?" And he goes, "We're on the front lines defending you constantly. We are going to show the battle scars and wear and tear from our centuries or millennia of abuse. Um, Remember, Dave, that Lucifer and his minions will appear as beings of light. They will be the attractive ones trying to lure you to the other side. You have to be very cautious." And he said, "There's a reason why people put gargoyles on buildings and carve pumpkins. We put out the scary things because they're an affront to the demonic realm. The fallen angels find themselves to be particularly amazing, and they are disgusted by humans and by these horrific things. They shouldn't have to lay their eyes upon it." And I was just kind of like reeling with this information that was given to me by this being and trying to understand what was being said, but it rang true to my heart. But then again, I was like, well, how do I know I'm not being fooled and giving in and understanding what this creepy old man is telling me because I want to believe, and there's an essence to this. But I think it's fascinating that you say they don't look like you're going to expect them to look, and some might be kind of horrific in nature or very bizarre and unusual. Mine, thankfully, just looked like a beat up old man in an overcoat kind of look. Um, there were no feathers, there was no halo, there was no chorus of angels singing as he spoke to me. It was a guy that sounded like this, talking to me and showing me his image. It was very unusual, very bizarre. Have you heard of other people having encounters like the one I just described?
Yes, if people listen to the podcast, and maybe some of your listeners have, I have interviewed people where it has been random people that look like you and me that will come up and give them a piece of advice, a warning, anything like that, and then they turn around and they're gone. I mean, like in a split second, they're
Mhm.
gone. So angels will manifest in all kinds of ways. And that's one of the pieces we have to remember is angels are nothing more than energy, just like we are energy. And so as we know, energy can take on all shapes, forms, sizes, everything. I have seen angels in colors, in auras. I have felt them. Angels are going to have a warm feeling, especially Michael. If you get that warm, tingly feeling, that's Michael who's there. And what he's saying in that is, of course, we know him as the protector. He is the greatest warrior angel, as I'm here, I got your back. You're good. Now, you can also hear them. Mine will come through as ringing in my ears. So, and I have tinnitus, but I know I've talked to my docs about what tinnitus really sounds like. And yes, I do have it. It's the low, dull vibration that I constantly have. But when you've got an angel talking to you, it's higher pitched and it's louder and it has more of a rhythm to it. That's when you know it's an angel. I had one time, I don't remember what the situation was, but I needed to make a really big decision. And I was confused. I wasn't focusing. I couldn't bring things in. And all of a sudden, my right ear, I mean, it might have well been a church bell in a belfry with me standing right next to it because it was just bonging. And I realized I wasn't paying attention to the messages they were sending me. So they will get loud. They will get right in your face to let you know that they are there. Now, when we were in Ireland, it was really nice. I met another person. You met Brad as well.
Mhm.
Very sensitive young man. And when he found out that I was an angel light worker, he said, I need to pick your brain about angels. So we had long conversations. Well, he's been a sensitive and an empath since a very young age. And so it was really fun because while we were in Ireland together, he would walk and he would whip around, and you maybe saw him a few times, and he'd just be like, and I knew that he'd seen an angel. Nobody else had seen the angel. I caught a glimpse, or maybe I saw it full on, just depending on the situation. But so there's many different ways that they are going to come to you. You talked about intuition with
Mhm.
your angel experience and other experiences. People poo-poo that intuition is angels in all cases. I don't. I am a firm believer that that gut instinct, that is your angel talking to you or angels, because that's what they're bringing messages. That is their one and only job is to bring you messages. And those messages are to make sure that the contract that your soul established way back day one is accomplishing, checking off all the boxes of that contract for life. And so that's why sometimes they might be quite gentle with you. Other times they might be more forceful with you. The way that I discern, am I talking to the angels who truly are about me moving down the path of my contract? Or is it an angel who's trying to derail me off of
Mhm.
that journey? Is what is the message itself? If it is something that is going to bring harm to someone else, if it's going to bring harm to myself because it's something that I'm supposed to say or do. And this sounds very simplistic, but then I know it's either a dark or a fallen angel. And I classify that into two categories, fallen and dark. The fallen ones are gone forever. They're fallen, they're completely separated from our creator. There's no going back. The dark ones are the ones that waver. They'll go dark, they'll go light. They'll go dark, they'll go light. They're the fence sitters. And at one point, they'll put one foot down, another point, they'll put the other foot down. And that's where the messages get complicated because those messages will have just a little bit of this is a positive thing to do, and it will have another point that this is a negative to do. So that's when you don't act immediately on your message, but you take some time and you sit and you contemplate it and meditate on it and see what other messages are coming through. The
But
positive
people
angel.
that are walking in a place of fear, or I hate to use the word paranoia, but I can't think of a better word that suits this, that they want to communicate with that. They open themselves up, they're meditating, they're letting in the energy, allowing it to become part of them. A lot of the fears are that we don't know what truly is there. And of course, I would assume that they're going to start off very love and light. They're going to start off with kindness and then start, you know what, Dave? You don't even need to call for me anymore. Just let me in and be a part of your heart. Let me in and be a part of you. And we can do this, and oh, that sounds beautiful. I want an angelic heart. I want to. And then all of a sudden, it's time to kill the cat. All right. We don't know what's going to set us off or if there's something darker behind the invitation that's being brought to us. How do we address that for the people that are fearful, paranoid, and concerned constantly that something dark lurks behind even the brightest light?
I can't reassure them that it's never going to be there. That is not possible. It's not the way the universe works. And so, what you need to do, and I have been talking to my angels. I had my first encounter that I remember at 3 years old, and I've
Mm.
had them all through my life. And I'm working on the second book that will talk specifically about all those encounters. Um, but you learn to, first of all, you learn how they're communicating to you. And like, I know which one is my guardian angel coming through. My guardian angel is Bridget because I always got the message of bridge, to bridge between this world and the other world or the next
Mhm.
world, however people care to classify that. So my guardian angel is Bridget, and I know how she comes to me, although I will have other angels come to me. And if I've asked for other angels to come to me, I've learned in what way they come through. But that's to me personally, and people need to establish those relationships. So, whenever you're calling on the angels, when you need help, when you are trying to make a decision, a career decision, a family decision, life decision of whatever it might be, health decision, the first thing you do is you preface every request to the angels with enlightened love. I know the dark ones can show themselves as light, but they're not going to come through with a message that is light filled. It might be a little masked, but it's not going to be the full bright light. And that's where I say you cannot do a knee jerk reaction to the message that the angel comes through. You might have to sit for an hour. You might have to sit for a day. Maybe you even have to sit for a week just to see what else comes through. But you will start to be able to form the line and the outliers go away so that then you know exactly what your message is and what you need to do. I know that one of the things that's the hardest for people is right now we are in such a hateful society. Everything it's just nobody's happy. And so everyone lashes out all the
Mhm.
time. And it's like they hate because they're unhappy. And yet in lashing out, they're just inviting in more and more negative energy. The fallen angels are having a field day right now
Mhm.
with everything that's going on. And that's where, again, you've got to take that step back. And as bad as you want to lash back at someone, instead of internalizing it and go, well, it's not me. I know that's not me. No, it's not you. It's them. It's because of the hurt and the unhappiness that they have inside them and all the negativity, and they don't know what else to do with it except to lash out. And that's where the best thing to do is listen to your light and love angels who are telling you, be kind, be thoughtful. When I'm on social media and somebody does something like that, I'll just put on there, I'm really sorry that you are so sad and unhappy, and I'm going to pray for you. And I never get a response back. But
I've
it
actually
shuts them
used
up.
that when I've got people that have lashed out at me. I have actually
Mhm.
written and said, "There is something bothering you, and I'm truly sorry that your heart is in this place, and I'll say a prayer for you." And I have probably gotten out of every 10 of those messages, heard back from 1 or 2 of the people that are like, "Wow, I didn't really think you'd read this or respond. Thank you." And I don't know why I reacted that way to you. And it is I've found that showing that kindness over the cruelty lets light into them when they least expect it as well. And it's real easy to have that knee jerk, isn't it? It's real easy to go, yeah, well, screw you too. I don't need your bleep, 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 bleep. And that does nothing but lets them in. It lets them affect and bring down your day when you can respond in a place of light and love in spite of how hard it is. That's when you can start to alter and change things and help others. And again, I don't want people to think, oh, Dave thinks he's an angel worker because he's sending light and love instead. No, sometimes I've done it tongue in cheek, like, well, may God bless you and keep you, and kind of a to you is the mental thought, but the words strike them as, wow, you didn't lash out. You didn't respond negatively. And it's really kind of beautiful to see them flourish and come back around and apologize. And it
Right.
doesn't happen often, but I'll take 2 out of 10. That's great that 2 out of 10 people maybe rethought things or have reached back out to me and gone, I haven't liked you for a long time because I thought you were an arrogant prick, but your message was so nice. And I'm like, well, I'm still an arrogant prick, but I wish you well. I'll own who I am. But it is fun to see when you show that love and respect back to people when they don't deserve it, how often that is the moment that can be the game changer for them.
Because another piece with the angels too that I don't think people think about because we are so all about ourselves is in communicating with the angels and
Mhm.
receiving their messages and asking them to help us fulfill our soul contract is that we have a responsibility with that. And that is to carry those messages forward. And the message is not hate, but rather it's love. Now, we're not going to have utopia. This is never going to be a perfect world. Yeah, I don't know what I do with that completely, at least not now. But, you know, if each one of us was to do that with one person, think of how the world would change. I
Yeah,
mean, it would be amazing. All it takes is us to connect with one person who then in turn they connected with another, and it's the whole domino effect. And
agreed.
it would be eye-opening.
Yeah. And that's where I think it's interesting. There have been times when I will receive messages from followers and friends around the world that I think, well, why are you opening up to me? I don't know how to answer your question. And sometimes I've literally looked up and said, all right, if you got something, bring it on. And I just start typing and out comes
Mhm.
this paragraph and I hit send. I try not to re-edit it. I try not to rethink it. And I just hit send. And that has helped a lot of people through the years. And I've often gone back and said, geez, where did that wisdom come from? And obviously I know where it came from. Right. And it was nice to open up to a concept. And listen, I know there are those of you right now that are not into the dogma of religion and the concept of angels is ridiculous to you, yet you believe in demons. That's so confusing to me. But let me address this for you. Then speak to the universe. Speak to the positive, the good of the universe. I invite the positive and the good of the universe to work through me today, to keep my mind clear, to help me in communicating with others. Don't have to call it an angel. I think the angels get it. I think God gets it, because God, again, is a name we ascribe to the being above, the energy, the creator. That is something that we've given it, right? There's many names that God falls under. And I think as long as you're doing things in a place of good, it doesn't matter what you call upon, to make positive change. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Am I being too naive, Chaplain?
No, no, not at all, Dave. In fact, I think one thing people don't realize is angels are found in all cultures, in
Mhm.
all religions, going back as far as time tells us. All you have to do is like when you went to Egypt and you saw all of the hieroglyphics and everything. There were angels in there. Our
Mhm.
Native American families, they have the Thunderbird is generally their depiction of an angel. I was recently in Panama and we went and visited an indigenous community out on an island. They were so very gracious and put their clothes on for us that day. I mean, it was wonderful. All of these families, young and old, out on this island, and so they gave us just an amazing celebration and welcome into their life and everything. And I was able to get an interview with the leader of their group through a translator, and that will be a podcast coming up in the not too distant future because I'm
Awesome.
doing some more research on it and everything. But my first question to him was, do you have angels? And if so, what are they? And the translator, before he translated it, said to me, I have never, ever had that question before. And the answer, I don't want to give you the whole answer now because I want people to watch the podcast, of course.
Right.
But the answer blew me away, and it had nothing to do with religion. It was just deeply embedded in their culture. And people need to get past this piece that angels are connected to religion. They are correct, they are connected to creation. That's what they are connected to. And so, however, like you said, you want to look at the universe, you want to look at creation, that's where the angel piece comes in. Be them good, be them bad. But that's where you go to. And I don't think anybody is going to say, well, they don't believe in creation. It's what
Well,
feeds us,
hopefully.
it's what clothes us.
We have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the nature of calling upon angels, because again, there's the famous story of the monkey's paw, that with every wish there comes a curse, right? That if you're not defining what you want explicitly, that you might end up getting what you want, but not what you need, and lose something in that exchange. And I wonder, when people are dealing with calling upon angels, demons were fallen angels. How specific do we need to be to make sure that we're not calling in an angel who's like, oh, I'm here, and it's something darker? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some angel moments and miracles that you've actually witnessed. We'll do all of that and more. Stay tuned. We've got so much more to discuss with our guest, Chaplain Jodi Dean, the host of Survivor Angels. And again, remember, there's a link for Jodi, her book, and her podcast on today's program guide. We'll be back with more right after this.
In winter's grasp, a chilling tale unfolds. Wanted Magazine's issue 40. Secrets to be told. Al Capone's ghost, in shadows it creeps. A spectral mobster, where darkness seeps. 14 signs of a poltergeist's might. Haunting whispers in the silent night. Pascagoula UFO, 50 years gone by. A cosmic encounter, reaching the sky. A ghost train of Tate Bridge, echoes in the mist. A phantom journey, where souls exist. Wanted Magazine issue 40 is out now, available from selected outlets and bit.ly/Haunted Magazine. Don't be normal, be paranormal.
Don't forget, my brand new book is out and available now. Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness. You can find links for it at paranormal60.com.
You've been listening to part 1 of The Trouble with Angels from Paranormal 60 podcast with Dave Schrader. Tune in next week for part 2 on Survivor Angels.